Yes. Can you people hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good. So please mute your mics, all of you. Okay. Yes. So today, as I told you, people, so we'll continue our starts discussion. Okay. Naveen, you can hear me, right?
Yeah, Mahesh, I can hear you.
Okay,
Can you
fine.
hear me?
Yeah, yeah. Just want to check this is your first session, right? Yeah. Okay. So I'm talking about
Okay.
struts here. So next week in the same match, I'll be talking about not next week. Once I'm done with this struts framework, I'll be starting with the hibernate and all. Okay. Spring Frame hibernate. Okay. Yes, you can just continue with this match. Fine. So please mute your mics, all of you. Still, I hear background noise. Please. Okay, good. So again, the last, over the weekend we had a, you know, s- class for this struts framework, right? So there was a small issue with the recording again. So what happened is the second half of the session was not recorded. So what I'm going to do is I'll try to brief that part what I've actually discussed in the second part of the session once. Okay. Yes. So once I'll just review that. So people have attended that session, the second part of the session. I guess I was talking about the property resource bundle, the properties file, and the internationalization. That is what we are doing in the second half of the session, right? Yeah. So yes, let's check this example once. You know, earlier in the beginning, we had this login page. I'm just picking up from where we left, where I had issue with the recording. Okay, I'm just reviewing this. What was the thing which was missed in the record? So I'll just review this. Okay, yeah. So we were talking about validating this login page. Now for validating the login page, you see, so we have created a XML file. So that we did in the first half of the session itself, right? So this XML file was created. Okay, and then you say in this XML file, so we have specified that details about validations, especially details about the validations. Yes. So, for example, you say we want that username to be a mandatory field. Okay, that we have specified it. So if there is any error message, okay, if there is any error message, now I want the framework to read that error message from the properties file and display it. The error messages we will configure it in the properties file. Okay, it is also called as resource bundle. Generally that is a standard practice which we use in the application development. So we use properties files. Yes. So the error messages are configured in the properties file. I'll show you people. So I've created a properties file here with the name application.properties. The first three lines here which you got, they're basically name value pairs or key value pairs. The key is name which is given to that error message, and you got the value associated to that particular error message again. You got a name and value here. Okay, yes. So these are error messages. So you got three error messages which are configured in that properties file. Okay, yes. You got three error messages configured in the properties file. So now I want the framework to read the error messages from this properties file and display them. So if there is any validation error, appropriate error message should be read from this properties file and it should be displayed to the end users. For example, here you see we are trying to validate this username. That means we are configuring a validation rule for this username. So what is it? Required string. So required string means we are making it a mandatory field. We are making it a mandatory field, right? Required string means mandatory field. So what if that validation error, what if there is a validation error here for this field? Let's say if user didn't provide that username, then it's a validation error, right? So if there is a validation error, then what to do? So you see here, we will ask the framework to display this error message. You see, we use this key attribute here. We use the key attribute to specify what error message has to be displayed. So this key uname.error, where it is configured, you'll find this key in the properties file. You'll find this key in the properties file, I can say. Okay, this key is in the properties file. You see, for that key, you got an error message configured. For this key, you got a error message which is configured. Yes, yeah, yes. Okay. Now the framework will read that error message and it will display it for that particular validation error. Yes, people who have just have joined late. So what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to quickly review. So what I did over the weekend, second half of the session, the record is missing actually. So what I've actually discussed in the second half of the session, quickly I'm trying to brief you people on that. Okay. So that is regarding the error messages and the resource bundle, that is properties file. That is what I was talking about in that class, right? Yeah. So it won't take much time. So I'll just quickly review it. So if you people have missed that second half of the session, now the record. So I'm just reviewing it. Okay. Yeah. So you see now this error message is configured here. So that key is configured here. You got a value which will be displayed. Okay. So the same is the case for the other validations as well. You see username. So the type we have specified it as email. So what does this means? Type email means, yes, can someone explain me what is this? What exactly we are doing here? So we want that username to be a valid email address. That username is supposed to be an email address, right? So that is what we are specifying here. And if there is any validation error, if there is any validation error, then what we are doing? We want the error message to be displayed. So which error message? So this is the key for that error message. Email.error.invalid. That error message is configured here in the properties file. Okay, yes. So this is what happens. Yeah. Yes. I'm sorry. That's it. Next, similarly, even for the password also, we have configured the error messages accordingly. Okay. Yeah. So actually, why we have to use that properties file to configure the error messages? What is the need for that? Can't we use? Can't we hard code the error messages here itself in this XML file? So why we need to use the XML file? Yes. Why do we need to use XML file? Sorry, why we need to use properties file or resource bundle? Can't we hard code the error messages in this XML file itself? What do people think? Yes. What is the advantage of using the properties file here? Okay, I'll tell you people. Here, the advantage of using the properties file is internationalization. In short, it is called as I-18N. The advantage is internationalization. So what is internationalization? Yes. The application supports multiple languages. Yes, it's multilingual. So how it supports multiple languages? Let's see. Generally, you might have noticed it, such applications. Yes. When you load a web page, okay, if that web application especially, if it is if it supports internationalization, then that web page content will be loaded according to the client's locale, web client's locale, or according to that language used by that client, I can say. So for every browser, you will have a language settings. You know, you might have noticed it. So based on that language settings itself, accordingly, you'll find that the web page will load that content. So if the client's local is set to English, then it loads that content in that web page in the English. And for suppose if that web client's local is set to French, let's say, then that content will be loaded in French. Yeah, so that kind of possibility is there. So if you want to make this application support that internationalization, then you see we have to use this properties file. This is the first step. Now let's create a web page, okay, which supports multiple languages. So based on that client's local, say it will dynamically load that content. Let's say, okay, it is going to load the content dynamically based on the client's local. That is what we'll try to do. Okay, yes. So for that, first of all, let's consider this web page. Now the first thing what you need to do is we should not hard code any data in that page. If you got any content or data, hard coding the data should be avoided. So I'm going to show you people a page. This is a register JSP page. In this page now we'll have a form. In this page we'll have a form. Okay. So now you see, if you keenly observe this page, we got header here. That header content will be missing. Hard coding of that content is not done. That part is missing. Am I right? You see, instead we have some text tag here, and we have some key here. It's a key. Register.header is a key which is configured in the properties file. It is a key which is configured in the properties file. Okay. Yes. Yes. So similarly, see, we got a form. In the form we got text fields. Generally we use label tag to display that labels for the each text field. You see, I'll show you people in the login page we did that. So we have created a form here. You see, in the text field I've used label. So this label, what it does, it will display that text message or that label before that field. So label attribute is used to display a label before that text field. That is what we do generally. But now you see, here we are not doing it. So in this case, in register page, I'm not using label tag and hard coding any labels for this text field. We are not hard coding the label for the text field here, I can say. So instead we are just configuring the keys here. So where are these keys? The values for this keys you will find that you have in the properties file. Okay, you see register.uname, register.fname, register.lastname, register.email, register.phone. So instead of hard coding that labels, we are just asking the framework to read the labels from the properties file. We are just specifying the keys which are configured in the properties file. You see in the properties file, we'll have them. You see these are the keys. Okay, yes. As of now, we got this content in English. We got this content in English as of now. Yes. Now, actually, the framework is supposed to read that keys from this properties file. We need to also configure this properties file appropriately. Okay, so framework should have the details about this properties file. So how will you supply the details about this properties file? That point is also important. So in the struts XML file, we'll configure that properties file name. You see. So if you people have missed this part, make sure that you make a note of it. So in the properties file, we can configure. Sorry, in the struts configuration file, in the struts configuration file, we can configure the details about that properties file. You see, we got a constant called as struts custom.i18 resources. This is a constant. Okay, you can think of it as a field which doesn't change. It's almost a standard field, I can say. Yes. So you see value, it refers to that properties file application. The properties file name can be anything you wish. The properties file name can be anything you wish. As of now, actually, because we gave the properties file name as application, we are using the same properties file name here. Okay, yes. And one more thing, we are we are not using that extension dot properties. That dot properties extension, you can ignore it. Okay, don't add that properties dot properties. Yes. So did everyone make a note of it? So this is how you'll configure the properties file details in the struts configuration file. Yes. And what else? That's it. Now let's try to deploy this application and test this once. So we don't need to write any additional code here. So if the client's locale is set to English, by default, the properties file will be used to read that labels, I can say, and error messages as well. I'm deploying it. Okay. So now you can access that register page. Sorry, register JSP. You see what content is displayed here. It is English. Okay, so I'll copy this once and open it in some other browser like Internet Explorer. Okay. Okay. So this is the first step in making your application support internationalization. So make sure that you don't hard code that data or text content in the web page. Do not hard code the text content in the web page. Yes. Okay. As of now, you see this web page it only supports English. It can only load English content. What I want to do is here. Now I want this web page to load even other language content accordingly based on the client's language settings locale. So it has to load that content accordingly. Let's say. So what to do then? So in that case, now first of all identify which languages you want to support. Okay. So as of now, you know what? I got some text messages for Spanish locale or Spanish language. Okay. So what I did is here, I've created a properties file, another properties file. So if you keenly observe the name of this properties file, you'll find that it is also application. It starts with application itself, but there is one difference. What is it? You'll have a suffix for this for this file name underscore es. You know, es basically it's a code which is used for Spanish. Okay, for every language you'll have a special code. So that language code we have to use it here. For every language you'll have a special code which we need to use. Okay, prefix will say, suffix we say. So for Spanish it is es. So it indicates that in this properties file you got the content for Spanish language. Application underscore es dot properties extension should be properties itself. Now you see you have the same keys here in this properties file also. You got the same keys, same set of keys which you see in the other properties file. So what is the difference here? You see that values they are in Spanish now. All that values are in Spanish language. Okay. So this is what we need to do. Add this added a properties file for that Spanish language. That's it. And if you know any other languages, of if you know French or if you know German, so whatever language you know, you can add a properties file and accordingly you can add that suffix. So how do you know what is the suffix for each language? It's very easy. So you'll find them in the browser itself. In the browser settings, you'll see you can find them. As of now, we have that additional properties file here, right? Yes. Now you see by default my browser language setting is English. I'll show you where you will find it. You see under the tools you have internet options, right? In the internet options, I'm sorry. In the internet options, you see you have languages. You see my language is set to English. That is a primary. It is on top, right? Yes. So even I've set other languages, but because English is primary, so it will first take it. Yes. Okay, fine. You know, For suppose if I click on add, if you want to add some other languages, I'm sorry, click on add. You see, it's a very big list of languages which are supported here. There's a big list of languages supported. Yes. So for each language, you got a suffix. You see. So which language you want to add, you can select that language and you can add it as a preferred language for this particular browser. So because by default our browser's language is set to English. Yes, that is a preferred language for us. Now I'll do one thing. By default it is set to English, so English content was displayed earlier. Now I'll do one thing, I'll remove English and I'll remove French also. I'll only retain the Spanish language. You see that suffix for Spanish is yes. This is where you can find that language suffixes which you're supposed to use for that files. Okay, yeah. So I'll click on OK. So I've set the language to Spanish now. Close the browser and open it. So after making any changes to the settings, it is always better close the browser and open it. Yes. Okay. Now you try to access that register page. Okay. So now what happened? This time you'll find that this page content it is displayed in Spanish now. So the other properties file which you got, that file is loaded now. So which represents that Spanish language. And the content is displayed in that Spanish itself. Yes. Okay. Now do we need to write any additional code here? You might be thinking, are we supposed to write any additional code? I can say not needed. So the only thing is make sure that what are we supposed to do if you want to support Spanish language here? Yes. What you understood? What are we supposed to do here? Sorry. If you want your application to support Spanish language, so what are we supposed to do? Yes. So we have to create a properties file. No, properties file. Create a properties file whose name is also same as the original properties file, that is application. Okay, but the suffix should be underscore es for Spanish. The suffix is supposed to be underscore es for Spanish. Yes. Now make sure that the keys are same, only the values here you have to configure them in Spanish. So that is what you are supposed to do. Yes. Okay, so hope everyone got it. So any questions in this regard? Okay, now what if I want the application to support, let's say, some other language as well? Let's say French language also. Then what to do? I want the application to support French language as well. So what to do? So add one more file, and the suffix of that file should be that French suffix fr. For French, it is fr, not es. You cannot add it to es. Es is only for Spanish locale. So if you want to add support for French language as well, you have to create another properties file. So for each language, you have to create a properties file, and you will find that the suffix of that properties file should match that language suffix. Yes. Okay. Yes. Fine. So this is what we did in the second half of the session. The only thing is I was trying to create this properties files and all explicitly and working with them. Yes. So already this code we have written it. Yeah. So now today we'll move on to the next topic of struts. That is, we'll talk about. We'll see one. Sorry, not talking. We'll see one full application. One application where we'll have DB interactions and all sharing of the response data, the action class sharing the response data with the JSP, okay, with the friend with the JSP rendering the response and all such things. A complete example. So let me try to do that. So for suppose, let's say I want to implement a search flow, product search flow. So I got product records in the database. Just a minute. So we got this product records. So earlier we implemented this flow for searching the product records using servlets and JSPs. Now we'll use structs here. Yes. What I want to do is I want to create a web page, and through that web page, the users should be able to search for the product records which are in this table. So if the user provides a product ID, so the application is supposed to search for that product records in this table, fetch that record associated to that ID, and display that record back to the client. Okay, so a simple search functionality to search the product records. So that is what I want to add here. Okay, a search functionality to search for the product records. Yes, fine. So first of all, in order to do this, we need to create a search page which users can use this to type in the product ID and search for that record, right? Yes. So you see we got web content directory. We got a JSP file option here. I'm creating a JSP with the name search JSP. So say product search. So I'll add a struts form. You can add a simple form also, anything is fine. So I import that struts tag library. Sorry. Text field name equal to ID. Sorry. Label equal to product ID. Yes. Search. Okay. So we got this search pay form, I can say, with one text field and a submit button. Now here users will type in the product ID and will submit this form. So who should handle this request? Who should handle this request now? So how will you handle this request? We are using struts framework, right? So what are we supposed to do? So how will you process this client's request? So how will you handle a form request in struts framework? Yes. Come on here. Forgot. So where you'll write the request processing code in struts. So we need to create a action class. We are supposed to create an action class to handle this form request, right? So create an action class. So we will do this product search action. So as of now, this is just a normal Java class. So how do I make it a action class here? Struts action class. How to make it a struts action class? So it's just a normal Java class. So if you want to make it a struts action class, then this class, you see, it should extend action support class. So once you make this class extends action support class, it becomes a action class here, right? Yes, fine. So now in this action class, where you're going to write the request processing code, in which method you'll write the request processing code. Yes, in the action class, in which method of the action class you'll write the request processing code. So you'll write the request processing code in execute method of the action class. You're supposed to write the request processing code in execute method of the action class. So this is like your servlet service method. Okay, now we don't need to explicitly read that ID product ID which is typed in here. Okay, so I'll declare a temporary variable and add a setter method here for that variable. That should be enough. So framework, what it does, whenever that form is submitted, it reads that text field product that ID from the text field, and it will assign it to this variable ID variable. Okay, so now in the execute method, we have to write the code to fetch the product record based on that ID, and we have to render that record back to the client. Yes. So for that purpose, what to do? So DB interactions generally, so we use a specialized component for that, like we use a DO, right? So here also, let's make use of a DO. Okay, so we'll make use of a DO here. So already we have developed the DOs earlier, right? So I'm just going to copy that DO. Just a second. So I'll be using a DO which uses JDBC. Yes. Okay. So let me copy this DO code from another project. Just a second. So we'll do this. Right. So just a minute, please. Just a minute. Okay. So now we have this DO. Okay. Yes. So this DO has got this method get product by ID, which takes product ID and will fetch that product record from the database server. Okay, and returns the product object straight away. Okay. Yes. So we got this DO which we have developed earlier. So I'm going to use the same one. So now here we'll write that code. Okay. So we'll use that product DO. So we'll use that get product by ID method and we'll pass the product ID. It will return a product object reference. Yes. Fine. So this DO you people are familiar with it. So this is not new for you people. Yes. Right. So now we got this product record which is stored in this product object. So this DO method will fetch that product record based on that ID. So after fetching that record, now this product details they have to be displayed back to the client, right? Sorry. So how this product details will be displayed back to the client here? How the product details will be presented back to the client? So this action class itself will take care of it, or what happens exactly here? Yes. Yeah. So to display this product details, so we need to use a JSP here. Okay. So we need a JSP for this purpose to display this product details, right? So it's a view component which will deal with presentation logic. So the question is here. Now the JSP should have the product details. You see, now the product details are in this product object. So the product object is with this action class. So how the JSP will be able to access this product details and display the product details. Action class will not present the data, right? So action class is not going to present the data. So how this action class will share that product details? What do you think? Hello, can you people hear me? Okay, fine. So all of you think about it. This is very important. So the question is, you see, this action class is able to fetch that product record based on that ID with the help of the DO. Now, after fetching that product record, now this product details, they have to be displayed by the JSP page. They have to be displayed by the product. Sorry, they have to be displayed by the JSP page now. Okay, they're supposed to be displayed. The product details should be displayed by the JSP. So now the question is, this action class, how it will share this product details with the JSP page? The action class, how it can share the details with the JSP page. Generally in servlets, if we use servlets and JSPs, how a servlet can share the details, the response details with the JSP page? Yes. If it is servlets and JSPs, how you're going to do that? In servlets and JSPs, If it is servlets and JSPs, servlet will be processing the request, right? So after that, it will get some response data. Now, how that response is shared with the JSP so that JSP will display that response back to the client. Yes. So people are taking so much of time for such a simple answer. For some, it's a very simple question. We did this repeatedly. And so we saw that. So let's send JSPs. So basically a servlet can share the response data with the JSP through the scope objects. A servlet can share the response data with the JSP through the scope objects. Okay, like request, session, context and all. Here also, do we have any such option? So this action class now, it is fetching that product record from the database server. Now the question is how it will be able to share this product details with the JSP page. How it will be able to share the product details with JSP page. Yes. So that is the most important thing which you need to know. Okay. Yes. So in this case, we don't use any scope objects in case of Struts framework. So, but instead, you'll find that all you need to do is just make sure that you declare that product reference variable in the class this way and add a getter method for that property, get product. Yes. Yes. So what you need to do is declare a variable this way in the class, make it private and add a getter method for that property. Now see in this property or in that reference variable, so you'll have that product object reference, okay, which holds that product details which should be rendered back to the client. Now when we do this, when we add this property here this way, framework what it does, so it will read all these properties and all the properties which are declared in the class and it will add them to value stack. You got something called as value stack here. Value stack, so that the product reference which are declared in the action class, so will be added to the value stack. So once it is added to the value stack, now you see all the components which are processing that client's request, they will have access to this value stack, so they will be able to read that product reference from that value stack, I can say. So through the value stack, the components which are processing a client's request can share the data in Struts2 framework, I can say. Through the value stack, the components in Struts2 framework share the data, the components, sorry, through the value stack in Struts2 itself. through the value stack, the components which are processing a particular client's request will share the data. Yes. Processing a particular client's request will share the data through the value stack. Yes. Please make a note of it. So, whatever the properties you declare here in this action class, they will be pushed onto the value stack. The properties which are declared in the action class, they will be pushed onto the value stack. Also make a note of this point. Okay, the properties which are declared here in the action class, they will be pushed onto the value stack. I can say it's a stack. Yes, and that value stack is available to all the components which are processing a particular client's request. Yes, it's a common memory area, I can say, so which is accessible to all the components which are processing a client's request. Yes, fine. So that means now this action class need not explicitly, you know, uh, add this product object to any request scope or a session scope or context scope and all. Okay. Yes. Now here the action component. Now it can return a result. Let's say success. We will map that result to a JSP page. So let's create a JSP page here, which will be responsible for rendering that response. So I'll create a JSP. You'll call it as product view JSP. Okay. Yes. So now in this JSP page, now we'll configure this result to this JSP. Okay, product view JSP. Yes. So now how this JSP can access that product object which is pushed onto the value stack, I can say. How the JSP will be, I'm sorry, will be able to access that product object which is pushed onto the value stack. Yes. So for that, now the JSP can make use of the struts tags. Okay, JSP can make use of struts tag here. So let's try to import that struts tag library first of all. Tag lib URI equal to prefix s. So we got just one product record, right? Is product record. Mhm. Product ID. We got property tag, property value equal to product dot. We have to use that property name here, product. So that name, property name. So we need to use that property name. That is what we are supposed to do. Okay, just a second. So this way you can read the data. You see this property tag now, it will read that property from that value stack now, product from the value stack. That property holds product object reference, right? So in that object, the property value will read it again. Yes. And description. Okay. So now let's configure this action class in the struts configuration file. Action class name. What is the class name? Recom dot including the package details we have to configure. It's product search action. And we use this name attribute to configure the URL for that particular action class. Say product search is the URL. And the result say success will map it to that. product view JSP. That's it. Okay, so this way you need to configure the action class. Yes. Okay, now let's deploy this application on the server, host it on the server and run this. Okay, so try to access that JSP, search JSP. So let's provide a product ID. Okay, we'll click on search, but one thing is missing. I'm sorry. So I'm using JDBC. So what am I supposed to do? So we have to add JDBC drivers. Yes. Let, so I have to add them. So they are not here. Let me just copy it. Yes, I might have added it to some other project here. Let me copy them. Yeah, MySQL connector jar. So let me just redeploy it once. Click on search. Oops, sorry. One last thing. Configure that action class URL here. Product search. Okay, product search. You see, so you got the product details. I'm just displaying them here. Accordingly, you can render that content. Yes, add styles and all you wish. Yeah. So what happens now when you submit the form? So search form. You see, you'll find that the product ID is populated into this field. and the execute method. So execute method here, so what it does, it will fetch the product record. Okay, disturbance. Still you have the same issue. Okay, so you see this execute method will be invoked. So the execute method will fetch the product record based on that ID with the help of this DO. Get product by ID method is there in the DO, so it will use that DO method. Okay, so here you see, so the DO which we have implemented earlier, it's the same old DO. Get product by ID method, so it takes that product ID, will fetch that record. Okay, transforms it into product object and returns that product object reference. You'll get a product object reference straight away. Yes. So now the action class will take that product object reference, you see, and it is stored into this property product, which is declared in the product class, product action class. Yes, the property which I've added, which we have declared in the action class, as I told you people. So they will be pushed onto the value stack now. You got something called as value stack, so which is a special memory area, which is allocated to this components which are processing a client's request. Yes. So now make sure that for this property you got a getter method. Okay. Yes. You see now this method, execute method, returns a result. It can be anything. Here it's success. So now that result success, you see, we have mapped it to product view JSP. So JSP will be invoked, but because JSP is also involved in processing that client's request, so JSP also will have access to that value stack. On the value stack, you'll have that product property. So you can access that product property and read the data which is in the product object here using the property tags. So these are struts tags now. Okay. Yes, we are importing that struts tag library here on top. We're using this struts tag property to read the data. Yes. So hope you people got it. Yes. So is it clear for you people? Okay. So anyone got any questions? Please let me know. Okay, fine. So Now, what if you have more than one record? Then what to do? Let's see. So, for suppose, let's say you got a requirement where you have to write the code to fetch all the product records from the database server, and we have to display them. So you need to write action class which fetches all the product records and will render them in a HTML table. Yes. So what to do? Let's see. So now I'm going to create an action class. All product action. So I'll make this class extends action support. So we'll override this execute method. Now here we'll not have any input for this action class because it is supposed to simply fetch the product records. This action component is supposed to fetch all the product records and display them in the table HTML table format by creating a web page. Okay. Yes. So now first of all what I'll do is here we'll use that DO. Sorry. New product impl. That's it. Yes. So in the DO we got a method to fetch all the product records from the database server. I'll show you people. Sorry. See, this is the method get products. So you see, this method will fetch all the product records from the database server and it stores them into a list and returns that list object reference. It returns a list of product objects. Now this method we are going to use it here in the action class, all products action. Product do dot sorry, get products. So that method returns list of product objects. Okay, list of product objects here. Okay, yes, sorry. So now this list we have to do that list object reference, we have to store it in a variable, declare a variable this way. It is of type list. Say products. So that property products now will hold that products list. That's it. So we'll return success here. So now this, for this products property, make sure that you declare a getter method. Okay, something like this, get products, get products. That's it. Now this property will be added to that value stack. It will be pushed onto the value stack. So where they have JSP, which has to render the response, can access it from that value stack and display the product records. Okay. Yeah. Now we need a JSP here. Sorry. So let me create a JSP. Just a second, please. Just a second. Yeah, sorry. So I'm creating a JSP page here. So I'll call it as products list JSP. Okay, so now in this JSP, we'll try to display the product records. Okay, yes. So I'll create a table because we got multiple records. So let's create a table. I'll add a border and let me add a row with column headings. Product ID, product name, price, and description. Yes. Now we need to read that list of products list which is in that value stack now. Okay, so for that we have to use start stack library. So we have to import the start stack library first of all. URI equal to prefix is. Now not only reading that list but we should also make sure that we have to we have to read the elements from that list. Okay, and we have to read the data from each element and display it by creating a row. So reading the elements from the list means we need a loop, right? We need some looping constructs, support for looping. So you will find that here. So we got a tag which helps us in this regard. Okay, so in the struts tag library itself, you got a tag called as iterator. So use this iterator tag for this purpose. Iterator. What you'll do is here, you have to pass that reference products value equal to products, and we have to declare a temporary variable. Let's say product. Now we need to read the data. So for each element, we'll create a row. We'll add the data here this way. Now you know this iterator tag. To this iterator tag, I'm passing that reference products list reference here. You see. So using the value attribute. Just a second. Okay. And you see next we need to declare a temporary variable. So where attribute is used to declare a temporary variable. So variable name is product. So that variable name can be anything you wish. Now this iterator tag, it works similar to your for each loop. So iterator tag now will take that reference, and for each iteration it reads an element and will store that element's reference in this variable product. For the first iteration it reads first element, will store it in this variable. product. For the second iteration, it reads another element, stores it into this variable. This way, for each iteration, it reads an element and stores it. Okay. So now that you have to read the data using the temporary variable now. So if you want to access the temporary variable, use that hash product dot id this way. Name, price, and description. Yes. Okay. Now you see, so this is like a loop. Now whatever the content we have here, you can think of it as a kind of a loop now, where this code now it executes a number of times. It depends on the number of elements which you got in that list. It depends on the number of elements which you got in that list now. Yes. So now let's configure this action class in the configuration file. All products, all product action. What name I gave for that action class? All product action. I'm sorry. Okay, that's it. Name success. Products list dot jsp. That's it. Okay. So let's deploy this application on the server and test it. So you know what? Now we can directly access that action class by typing in the URL of that action class. You see all products. This is the URL of the action class. You see in the struts configuration file we have configured it. All products, you see, for this action class. So this is the URL, all products. Always remember the name attribute is used to configure the URL for the action class. Okay. Yes. Now let's try to access it. Oops, I'm sorry. There is some issue. Just a second. So the table is created, everything is fine, only the data issue with the data. Just a minute. Let me align this table also. Product is a variable name which I gave. It is trying to iterate properly. That means records are fetched. That is fine. Just a second. I'm sorry. Sorry. What is the mistake? So I'm supposed to use struts tag library for that. I'm directly trying to read that property value, but we have a property tag. We are supposed to use it, right? Sorry. Use that property tag. But make sure that you add a hash here first of all. Yeah. Product name, price, and description is okay. Yeah. You see, we got this product records here. Okay. So hope you people got it. You see, so using this iterator tag. So this iterator tag is from struts tag library. So any questions in this regard, please let me know. Oh, all product action. Okay. Okay, why we are calling get products method. So how we are fetching the data records from the database server. So using that do method itself, get products. Okay. So any other questions? Anyone got any questions? So okay then. So I'll stop it here. So we need one more class to complete the Starts framework. So tomorrow also I'm going to talk about Starts framework. So we got a class tomorrow at same time. Okay. In the next class we'll see interceptors concept and the how to divide the Struts application into various modules. Okay. Yes. So we'll meet tomorrow at same time again. Okay. Yeah. Thank you all. Bye bye.